Mr. President, I rise today in opposition to a widely irresponsible legislation that is before us now. Although our colleagues are calling it the big, beautiful bill, this bill would instead be a betrayal to our economic future, hardworking American families, and some of our most vulnerable seniors, children, and people with disabilities. This bill will blow up our national debt, kick millions of people off of their health care, and take food off of families' tables while cutting food assistance. And for what? What are our colleagues are mortgaging our country's future for? What are they slashing health care and food assistance to pay for? Well, they're doing it for tax cuts for billionaires. So before my colleagues rush to pass this irresponsible, reckless legislation, let's take a moment to go through exactly how much harm this bill will actually cause, and hear from the people in my state who are going to suffer if this law becomes law. To start, this bill will blow up the national debt. Since President George Washington gave his farewell address, our nation's leaders have warned against the dangers of accumulating a national debt. 15 years ago, Admiral Mike Mullen, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, stated, quote, "The most significant threat to our national security is our debt." The national debt is at an all-time high, $36.2 trillion. And just in the last 16 years, it has tripled. Our annual deficits frequently exceed $1.5 trillion, including a record $3.1 trillion deficit in fiscal year 2020 during the Trump administration. Unfortunately, these are the first of many grave financial milestones that we face. Within the next decade, our country will spend more on servicing the debt than we do on any other federal account outside of Social Security. Our fiscal house is basically on fire. But if our Republican colleagues jam through this bill, it's not going to pour water on that fire, it's going to pour gasoline on those flames. Democrats have tried to make efforts to pay down that debt in recent years. In fact, under the Inflation Reduction Act, a law that this bill attempts to actually gut, we reduced the deficit in that bill by nearly $250 billion. And in 2023, we passed the Bipartisan Fiscal Responsibility Act, which responsibly addressed the debt ceiling and had the potential to reduce deficits by up to $1.5 trillion. But unfortunately, the bill before us basically wipes all of that away. And I have always said that I'm open to making smart cuts to spending, but that those cuts should be matched with increases in revenues. Doing so would put us back on a sustainable financial path. Our Republican colleagues are doing the exact opposite. They are making drastic cuts to revenue, and according to the nonpartisan Joint Committee on Taxation, the tax provisions in this bill alone would decrease revenues by $4.2 trillion and add $3 trillion to our national debt. This is a recipe for disaster. If we face another emergency, like a pandemic or global financial crisis, we will be too hamstrung by our debt to respond effectively. We are on the brink of a financial disaster, and passing this bill could push us over that edge. Also, my Republican colleagues can cut taxes for billionaires. At the same time, our Republican colleagues are not making smart, sensible spending cuts to cover the costs that these billionaire tax cuts will mean. Instead, they're gutting health care for millions of Americans, including hundreds of thousands of Michiganders. It's reckless, and it is wrong.